Okay. So the recording is on, and what I will do is I will jump right to the affidavit format because I believe that's where the maximum doubts are happening. I think it's page number 53 or 56. Let me see. Yeah, enclosure one. Okay. Okay. Share this. Right. So on this window, I hope everybody can see the affidavit of assets and liabilities. And it says for non-agrarian deponents. So basically, people who are not in agriculture and farming, this format is applicable to all of them. So people should pay, close attention because the same affidavit is applicable to private people who are in private jobs, who are in government jobs, who are, NRIs. Now, of course, there may be some differences for NRI. There may be some extra sections which we will see as we go along. But one thing we must understand is that simply because someone is having a foreign bank account or his income tax return is filed in US or various kind of scenarios which are may not fall into the 80-90% of people who are resident Indians. But still, we have to kind of go by what's there in the format and not jump to any conclusions which are outside the um purview of what's covered in this. Because now that Supreme Court has given this judgment in 2020, November of 2020, there is all those previous multiple practices happening in various courts. They are supposed to be streamlined and follow this format. So I'm hearing from some people that in my place they are following something in Hindi language or the format is different. See, language is not a major issue because there's multiple languages. But if the format is not same as this, then I think people should raise an issue with their lawyer and obviously, to tell the court basically, right? So let us start. So basically, this has the format of it starts with a very clearly a typical affidavit, how it starts. I, full name, son or daughter of so and so, my age is about so and I am residing at so and so address. So all that is mentioned clearly. And then if you see, it says, I do hereby solemnly affirm. So that basically, you're taking the oath basically. It has to be notarized, and we will see later, how even perjury is applicable. That is a good thing because it has been it has been made a part of the format itself, so that people don't have any kind of confusion that, oh, I was not aware, I did not declare this, and or I lied, but I was not aware that it may be perjury. All that confusion has been taken out, so people should be aware that this is an affidavit on oath, and one should be uh, you know uh, clear on these things. Okay, I think my video was off. I have again made it on. So I will keep it on, but unless if there is a problem in my audio or something, please let me know. I will stop the video. So personal information, section A. So if you see, like this has been divided into multiple sections. Um, so your full name, age and gender, sex. Okay, we should use the same word. Qualification, educational and professional. So basically, educational means you're from whatever college, school, educational institution, latest one, especially, that's more important. And the professional would be where you have been working, or, like in what capacity. So um, you might be a chartered accountant, you might be a, I don't know, engineer, a BTech, an MTech, an MBA, a manager, a financial analyst, a software engineer, a business professional, a shop owner, whatever, anything which comes in that. And generally, the word professional means, something which requires some training and skill and some, investment of your mental and, over a period of time. Uh, so, so that is what's meant by, you have to mention your this thing. What have, but I guess even if you are not in a highly qualified kind of, professional kind of thing, whatever work you do, you have to mention that. So that's the other, layman or common sense use of the word professional. Like, what do you do to earn a living, and or that kind of thing. Okay, so let's move forward. And what we will do is, if there is a doubt, people can type in the chat box, because I believe participants by default they would be muted. I'm not sure. Yeah, probably they are. Maybe they can unmute themselves. I'm not very sure, but so I think chat box is one option. Or otherwise, what we can do is we can also have questions towards the end, right? Yeah, you can raise hand also. I think that's a good idea, because that brings the attention to the person. So there is already one raised hand. Ah, okay. Yeah, you can ask your question.
Hello, sir. My name is Praveen. So I just went to the for the first hearing. Actually, they given only a simple document or the petition. It contains only a 4 papers. It does not contains all this affidavit information from their side. It has only the information like she's staying at parents' home and she wants some 50,000 for the expenses. That's it. So now I need
And that is incomplete.
exactly, sir. So my next step is shall I ask the judge to make the whereas the petition is incomplete? So can I ask for the dismissal or what do you suggest, sir?
Yeah, see, dismissal is not, see, something is incomplete doesn't mean it's liable for dismissal. There is one video which I have covered. Let me open that. I don't know whether we can show how to avoid maintenance, how to avoid maintenance. Ah, okay. So this is my video. I'll just share this tab. So I hope people can see this on the screen. It is still loading up. So basically, see this video, I have paused it. I have covered it, I think in last year in December. Let me see, my screen is actually a little bit hidden. I have two screens. Yeah. So basically, this is for the case, where wife doesn't submit her income asset affidavit. And I have covered in, the points from the judgment itself that it is actually mandatory upon the applicant. And normally the applicant is wife, but it can be husband also in Hindu Marriage Act, Section 24. So it is mandatory. It is not an optional thing. It says very clearly that the applicant shall submit. The word is shall. It is not may or something else.
Okay, okay.
So that is something, which is your city or state? Can you mention that?
State is the state of Telangana, sir.
Huh. Telangana has a lot of cases. I'm not sure, but then again, there may be small towns and the thing. So these things take some time to percolate down. So what you have to do is you have to inform the court via memo. And in this video, I have covered that memo format also,
Okay,
which we have shared in the Telegram group, that you can submit that document and just fill in some details. That
okay,
for Rajnesh versus Neha, the wife has to submit her affidavit first, and husband has to submit within 30 days of that. That sequence is very, very clear. There is
okay.
no kind of doubt that husband can submit earlier or simultaneous is another thing which is happening. So we want to avoid that situation. You know, courts are creating some for convenience purpose or whatever that you submit simultaneously. The problem is you may go prepared with your affidavit. Wife may also come. She will submit incomplete affidavit. You will submit a complete affidavit. Now what
Mm,
happens? So that is something we want to avoid. So preferably avoid that. You say that wife has to submit her affidavit first.
okay,
So go through this video. I think whoever has, and this issue will be faced by a lot of people. So I suggest everybody should go through this video,
Okay.
and so it will give you some good points on how to tackle this.
Okay. But if wife also submit incomplete affidavit, we can also raise queries, right, in the court, sir, or write objection.
Yeah, let us go step by step.
Okay, sir.
That is the reason we are having this discussion. That what happens if wife submits and then there is some problem in her affidavit.
Okay, clear, sir. So now I
She
have to
has
submit
income.
via memo only, right, sir?
You go through this video.
Okay.
It shares all the details. And
Okay.
I hope you have joined our Telegram group. So
Yes, sir.
over there
Yes.
we keep discussing all these things.
Okay.
All these
Okay, sir.
messages are there also. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So let me. Okay. Second question.
Sir, sir, if you allow me, sir, I just want to say one thing about this question जो actually भी प्रवीण जी ने कहा था अभी.
हाँ जी बोलिए.
एक्चुअली सर एफिडेविट के बारे में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा है कि अलोंग विद द एप्लीकेशन, तो अगर वो अलोंग विद मतलब अगर उसके साथ में सबमिट नहीं कर रही है, then it is not a contempt of court, it is not a contempt of the डायरेक्शंस ऑफ द
देखिए
कोर्ट.
वो सब क्या है ना, आप क्या एलएलबी कर रहे हैं क्या?
नहीं सर, मेरे भी सर केस फाइल हो रहे हैं सर, मैं खुद केस हो रहे हैं सर, मेरे भी 4 केसेस हैं. और एक्चुअली हाँ,
मैं इसलिए आपको
तो
एडवाइस
सर
दे रहा
इसलिए
हूँ
कह रहा
क्योंकि
हूँ सर
आपके 4
बेसिकली
केसेस है ना, तो इसलिए अगर आप हर चीज में अगर आप मतलब आपने एक कॉन्सेप्ट पढ़ लिया है कि कंटेंट ऑफ कोर्ट कुछ होता है, तो अब आप कहेंगे अरे यार ये तो बड़ा अच्छा चीज है, इसको मैं अप्लाई करता हूँ यहाँ पे, एक कोर्ट में एक एप्लीकेशन डाल देता हूँ कि वाइफ का केस ही डिसमिस कर दो या उस पर कंटेम्प्ट लगा दो.
नहीं
देखिए
सर,
ये इतना
एक्चुअली मेरा
आसान
ये
नहीं
था.
होता है, मतलब या ये लीगल हर चीज का एक प्रोसीजर होता है. और कई
नहीं
चीजें क्या
सर,
होती है ना, वो मतलब अगर कंटेंट होता है विलफुल कंटेंट,
जी
वो भी एक चीज होती है. अगर कोई कहे कि अरे गलती से हो गया या ये हो गया वो हो गया, टाइपिस्ट नहीं मिला मुझे, मेरा कंप्यूटर खराब था, अबे 10 तरह की हमारे इंडिया में आप ये भी तो देखिए ना कि हम हमारे यहाँ पे मतलब एक कल्चर जो है ना, वो हम चीजों को बहुत लाइटली ले लेते हैं, या मतलब लाइटली ना भी लें तो उसको इग्नोर कर देते हैं. ठीक है अगली बार आ जाना, अगली बार आप ले आइए. आप फॉरेन कंट्री में जाइए, यूएस वगैरह में, तो वहां पे तो जज जो है ना, वो आपके वकील को एकदम हटका देगा उसी तरफ से कि आप मतलब आए हैं कोर्ट में, आपने डॉक्यूमेंट आपने कंप्लीट क्यों नहीं लेके आए. हमारे यहाँ वो कल्चर है नहीं.
नहीं
तो
सर,
वो
इसमें
भी एक
देखिए था
इश्यू है.
पर्पज बेसिकली कि अगर वो उसके साथ में सबमिट नहीं कर रही है, तो मतलब उस
ये देखिए
सिचुएशन मतलब
इसमें
कि
जजमेंट में आपने कहीं देखा है कि अगर साथ में नहीं किया तो कंटेम्प्ट लगा दिया जाएगा? जजमेंट में लिखा है क्या ऐसा?
नहीं सर ऐसा तो नहीं, लेकिन
हाँ,
ये लिखा है कि
इसलिए
उसके
मैंने कहा ना,
साथ ही
देखिए अगर आप
सबमिट
एलएलबी
करना
कर
है.
रहे हैं तो या तो आप उस पर डिस्कशन एक अलग से करते हैं कि आप मतलब दिखाइए कि कंटेम्प्ट ऑफ कोर्ट एक्ट में मैंने ये पढ़ा है, और इसमें जो ग्रुप में आप मेंबर है
नहीं
मुझे
सर,
पता है आपका नाम वहाँ पे है,
सर
तो
सर
एक
आई एम
डालिए
नॉट डूइंग
मैसेज, एक
एलएलबी.
डिस्कशन करेंगे किसी दिन.
जी जी जी.
ये तो फिर क्या
सर
होगा,
मैं
देखिए
एलएलबी नहीं
ये
करता हूँ सर.
हर छोटी छोटी चीज पे लोग अटक अटक रहे हैं, तो उससे फिर क्या है कि वो अपना केस खराब कर रहे हैं. आप अपना केस अपना पूरा मतलब एक स्ट्रांगली करिए, और ये छोटे छोटे पॉइंट है ना, इनको ग्रुप में डिस्कस करिए.
जी जी
पहले
जी.
अपना थोड़ा
ठीक
होमवर्क
है
करिए
ठीक.
उस पर कि भाई ऐसे ऐसे मैंने इस पे एनालाइज किया है, मैंने पढ़ा है, या मैंने ये वेबसाइट पे आर्टिकल पढ़ा है, इसमें ये अप्लाई कर
जी.
सकते हैं. ये तो फिर ऐसे ही सवाल तो
ओके.
1000 सवाल लोग पूछ सकते हैं कि ये कर देंगे वो कर देंगे, तबाही मचा देंगे, तो ऐसे नहीं होता है.
ठीक.
ठीक है, तो अभी वी विल गो बैक टू द थिंग.
ठीक है सर.
तो
नहीं नहीं सर.
अभी ठीक है. सो पॉइंट नंबर 4 इन सेक्शन ए. अच्छा, वेदर द एप्लीकेंट इज स्टेइंग इन अ मैट्रिमोनियल हाउस. सो जनरली मैट्रिमोनियल हाउस वाइफ के लिए एक यूज होता है, बट चूंकि एप्लीकेंट है तो हस्बैंड भी हो सकता है. तो ओके, आई एम स्विचिंग टू हिंदी. So basically, see, what you have to do is parental home, separate residence. Okay, uh, so the applicant, the wife, has to submit this very clearly. Her parental home, separate residence, or in the husband matrimonial house. Matrimonial house, I think definition one can go by the DV Act, Domestic Violence Act. Wherever the wife has been staying after marriage as her residence, along with her husband. Sometimes the husband may not be there, but her parents may be there, his parents may be there. That's also matrimonial home, right? Uh, So that is the meaning of this one. Okay, please provide the current residential address. Okay. So this is, where the applicant has to give the address. Now, this is important for those cases where the wife says that, she actually stays at her parental house, but she has filed a case in another city, where some uncle resides or she has some relative or something, just to harass the husband because he has to travel. Uh, and how they do it is sometimes, based on some Aadhaar number. They have some Aadhaar card of that place or something like that, or maybe some rental agreement. So these are valid things. Rental agreement is a valid document. Aadhaar card is also a very powerful document. But in case you have, some proof that you can prove prima facie that this is not the place of the residence of the wife, then you can. I would suggest you pray for a dismissal. It is not easy because generally people don't have proof. So you seek a dismissal of the application based on ground of jurisdiction. Now this is the affidavit along with the main petition. The main petition itself will have an address. Logically speaking, this address should be the same address in the petition. But we have seen many different things. People say that in DV case there is one address, in CRPC 125 there is another. So who knows? So pay very careful attention to all these things. What are the addresses being mentioned in various cases in case there are multiple cases, and then devise your strategy based on that. So point number 5 is date of marriage. I think that is a pretty routine kind of thing. There should not be a doubt on that at least. And point number 6 is date of separation. Now this is very, very important, not only from a point of view of a legal fact that what is date of separation, but this is also important because if wife says that I am separated from husband from this date, and it's already 1 year, 2 years, and so this can help you in your divorce case in case you want to file ground of desertion, which requires a minimum period of 2 years. It can also help you, in case there are contradictions. Many a time there are contradictions in 498 FIR. Over there will be some date that I was beaten on this date and I left the house, but there will be another date mentioned in another document. So always, keep track of all these various uh, points of information. They can be very, very important in cross-examination also. Like you can ask the wife during cross-exam that you have mentioned this is the date in this case, but then you can show some proof, some CCTV footage, some photos, some whatever, taxi, bill or whatever which you booked for her. It could be anything actually. So that is a good way to confront. So this I think you should pay attention to, because if this is mentioned, wrongly, you can very well kind of, get cautioned that this is not good because one thing is that the applicant is lying, the wife is lying. Secondly, when they lie on such an important piece of information, which is the important fact, definitely there will be cooked up stories in the main petition, in their other cases also. So now your job is to check all those allegations and find out where you can catch them during the cross examination, during your WS and all those things. So I think this you should pay a lot of attention to. So actually now one more thing is the topic of the discussion was how the husband has to fill up the income and assets affidavit. And so far we have been discussing like in both ways, mainly on how the wife will fill it up. So I think going back, section A, from husband's point of view, your name, your age and sex and qualification, I think this we covered already, how the husband can fill it up. And then I think this is only for applicant. Now I think this doesn't say, that whether husband can't fill it up. So if husband has a different knowledge about the applicant, you can also fill it up as per your knowledge where the wife is staying. In case you don't know, then you can mention that I do not know where she is staying. So, or maybe I think this is only for the applicant. Probably this is not mentioned for the meant for the husband. Date of marriage is simple. Date of separation is something where you should pay clear attention to. And also, if as a husband, if you fill it up, so all the points which I mentioned, especially regarding date of desertion uh, or even date of separation, because a lot of time what happens is, let us say a wife files a case or she goes to police station, and as per your knowledge, date of separation is, let us say, May of 2023, and the wife has gone to the police station in July of 2023, and she says that 1 week back I was thrown out of the house. Now, which one is true? Is it May of 2023 as per you, or is it July of 2023? So this is something which is a general point, but one should be very, very careful in this point. Uh, because if you fill it up, this is an affidavit, and later on, if you want to change it as a husband, you won't be. It will be very, very difficult, because when you mention an affidavit on oath with liability of perjury, so that makes it you should be very, very careful in this. Okay. Now I think point number 7, again, it's only for the applicant. General monthly expenses of the applicant, rent, household expenses, medical bills, transportation. Normally, it will be inflated. Rent is something which they cannot inflate in case they are staying at a parental house. Then there is no question of rent. What generally we observe is, you know, they may not give a breakup. Actually, what we generally observe is they will ask a very high figure for wife, and if there's a child, for child they will give medical of 20,000, nanny, some whatever extracurricular classes if the child is going to school or something, 20,000 for some coaching, tuition, judo, karate, I mean music, whatever, all kind of extracurricular you can imagine. So that's something, but no need to worry. So just because somebody says that I need 1 lakh per month, or my child, I need 50K, child needs 80K, doesn't mean that you have to start worrying. That's the reason we are going through this process. So, okay, there is one more question. Okay, so yeah, go ahead. Ji, you can ask your question. Okay, I will lower the hand. Okay, there is one more question. Go ahead.
हाय विवेक जी, महेंद्र हियर। मेरा क्वेश्चन ये है कि कल ही पता चला एडवोकेट से कि मेरी वाइफ ने मेंटेनेंस फाइल किया हुआ है एंड कोर्ट ने 11 अक्टूबर की डेट हुई है, बट मेरे आई हैवंट रिसीव्ड एनी नोटिस और कुछ भी डॉक्यूमेंट्स नहीं मिले हैं। सो माय क्वेश्चन इज, सो माय क्लॉक स्टार्ट्स ऑफ 30 डेज ऑफ सबमिशन ऑफ एफिडेविट व्हेन आई रिसीव द डॉक्यूमेंट्स इन हैंड। इज दैट राइट?
That is correct. But at the same time, one should not become legal and try to avoid that document in the hand. So preferably, what I would say is try to get the documents as soon as possible. See, generally people will say that you can wait for the summons until the summons comes. Now, that was maybe okay earlier. Now the Rajnesh versus Neha judgment says that your date of maintenance will be from date of application. So any kind of delay is not in any way good for the husband. So it is better you get the documents as soon as you can. You can appear on the first hearing, file wakalatnama. You already have a lawyer, and get the certified copies or whatever copies you need, and start preparing your WS as well as your and check whether they have filed their affidavit or not. And all the discussion which we had about filing a memo, etc., in case they are not filing, that you can also use. But this is something where what we are seeing is uh, the lawyers and the courts may tell you something different from what we are saying, because what we are saying is as per the judgment. Now, I am totally open to any kind of interpretation or a high court judgment. So far, I am not aware of any high court judgment or anything which says that the husband has to submit simultaneously along with the wife. So that is simply not there. So when something is not happening as per the law, it is our duty to point it out, and there is nothing wrong in that also, right? Okay.
Okay. So, question again. So अभी I have some property on my name, right? तो अभी मुझे documents मिले नहीं है. So,
Mhm.
shall I transfer the property? I mean, what
Oh,
I
no,
heard.
this is a different question. Let us, and we have
Okay.
discussed this multiple times in a group also. So let us take it afterwards.
Thank you.
Okay. Next question, Rakesh ji.
Yeah, thank you, Vivek. My question is in reference to expenses, right? Especially when couple or family has stayed abroad, the expenses given are a direct conversion of dollar to dollar amount or dollar to INR, and is bloated to an extent where uh, is unimaginable, kind of,
So let me
Uh,
understand. The wife is
yeah.
currently in India, but her expenses are stated in as if she's in US. Is it correct?
Yeah, it's more than what it is in US though. It's exaggerated on US level also. But yes,
Okay.
that's how it is. Like, to give you an example, in Mumbai, to for transport 50,000 or 40,000 has been asked, right? These are the kind of exaggerations that happen, and especially
Yeah. So
they show a
I
very
think this
bloated
is,
income.
yeah. This is the exaggeration of expenses. No need to think that she is multiplying US thing. That may be because you are NRI. You are thinking that she's doing a conversion from I don't know, purchasing power parity also doesn't make sense here. But
Yeah.
uh, let's go simply by because see, one thing is very very clear. If you look at the um, point number 4, please provide the current residential address of applicant.
Hmm.
Now, I'm assuming your wife has given the Mumbai address here.
Yes. Yes.
So it's very clear. Now you don't need to, start arguing with the court that Your Honor, she's asking for US thing, multiplying. See,
Hmm.
it is a simple case. Somebody is staying in
Hmm.
Mumbai. They are asking for
Hmm.
50,000 in transportation
Hmm.
and, whatever XYZ in other things.
Hmm.
That's you have to calculate for Mumbai basically.
Okay.
Simple. No need to,
Oh.
divert your attention to, okay, I was in so and so city in US because she has
Hmm.
already said she's in Mumbai right now.
Got it.
That's where
Got
the
it.
applicant is. So we have
Got it.
to go strictly by the, what's there in the affidavit and not
Okay.
going
Got it.
to, yeah.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Okay. There is one more question. Go ahead.
Uh, Sir, Chandrakant this side. So, sir, regarding the transportation means whatever the transportation will be available, sir. Because what will be considered as a transportation here? Expenses on transportation means
See, I mean, these
for the
things are
wife.
very common sense because transportation is needed for what purpose? Somebody may go to a shop to buy groceries. Somebody is working, they may go to their office. Actually, that's a good thing. If wife says she's working, she needs transportation for working, then, so what's your monthly income? First, you tell that also. So these are, your, now somebody may say, I always take Uber and Ola. I don't go by this auto driver. But then you have to challenge them at, at the time of marriage when we were staying together, were we going by all auto, Ola, Uber all the time? Or we were also taking bus or auto or whatever it might be. So it is something which is straight, out of your day-to-day life, basically. One need not think in very legal terms or anything. So if you have any specific doubt, you can ask me about transportation.
Yeah, noticed.
Okay, yeah. So details of legal proceedings. Okay, now we are coming to section B. Okay, so we will cover this and then we will take more questions. So already we are at 11:40. Particulars of any ongoing or past legal proceedings. So this is a very good thing actually because what used to happen was that even now it happens. I mean, and the law allows it also that wife will file multiple maintenance cases and sometime in different cities also. That's a very bad thing actually for the husband because he's the one who's made to run around more. I mean, comparatively. Um, so this makes it mandatory, uh, you know, for both the applicant and the non-applicant. And now it has the words applicant and non-applicant. So basically, this is something which either of them can fill it up. I mean, or rather, I would say both of husband and wife can fill it up. Whatever is any other legal proceeding. Now, one more thing is this doesn't mean that, you mentioned your 498A, 406, some complaint she filed to your office, to your HR department. That doesn't, is that's not something which is required here, because it says very clearly legal proceedings with respect to maintenance or child support. Right? Child support is actually a word used in US, but okay, I mean, it makes it actually more easy to understand, because maintenance, if you include both wife and child together. Now, what about the child? So this is something, any legal proceeding, uh, both the parties can mention here. So that will be a good thing, that you have to don't. I mean, your multiple maintenance issue can be reduced to some extent because of this disclosure upfront. And then, of course, you have to argue in your case also. I mean, it doesn't mean that you mention it and then you relax, like, okay, taken care of automatically. Nothing like that. Okay. Whether any maintenance has been awarded in any proceeding. Okay. So it's one good thing that it says all the various sections, CRPC 125, DV Act, Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act, etc. They have still left etc. So include anything else if applicable. I can't think of anything else apart from these. Um, okay. But anyway, so I think you get the idea that, any maintenance awarded in any proceeding. So it's a court proceeding. Now, one thing is important is that, I know from people in the military, army, they also have their own provisions that sometimes, if your wife complains to your superiors, they have the authority to pass some maintenance, some percentage basis, how many number of children, and, so probably that can be mentioned here, because even though it is not covered in these acts over here, there is a maintenance which has been awarded. It's a proceeding. Uh, it's under a different proceeding, not in a court, but in your military tribunal or whatever that superior officer has done. So I think that can be covered here, and then you have to give the quantum of maintenance awarded in the proceeding. So it's there for the husband also, right? Okay. If so, provide copy of order. So that's a good thing actually, because uh, all the disclosures are being disclosed to the court before this particular case gets taken up. Okay, point number 4. Whether the order of maintenance has been complied with. So that is something, if not areas of maintenance. So this is something which I think many husbands are go through this, that because of various issues, whether it's their own thought process that somebody advised them, don't pay maintenance, it will put pressure on the wife, or they have lost their job, or their salary is not that much, the maintenance amount is too high for their savings and all those things. So you need to disclose that here, whatever is the level of compliance, whether it's complied fully, partially, um, like either way, or not at all. Like if nothing has been paid, even then you have to disclose it. Okay. I think point number 5 is very, very important, especially when there's a child, because this is something we tell all the people with children. Whether any voluntary contribution towards maintenance has been made, okay, there is a will be made also in future. So let's go to the first part, whether there's something which is already being done by you. And so this is something you can mention in case you have sent some money to the wife, uh, or for the child. You can mention that in case it's a month by month. So you can create a table basically, like, or if it's the same amount, let's say 5,000 rupees every month for the child, you can say from January 2022, I have been paying 5,000 for the child every month, and the total is till date is so and so, and I am continuing, in the future also. And that is where I think this is important, because not only you're paying in the past, you intend to continue in the future also, so that you can show your intention that I will continue that, because that will help the court to reduce that much amount, at least in the maintenance order. If you have already done something and then you intend to do that in the future, maintenance amount voluntarily, So that is for that purpose. And so I think let's take questions. Yeah, go ahead, Sarkarji. Okay.
Hello, sir. Abhi
Uh,
this side. So my question is regarding the monthly expenses. So can the wife include expenses of her parents if she is living with her parents?
okay. See, that's a good question because if we look at this point number 7, general monthly expenses of the applicant. So by a simple reading of this, it's very clear that there is nobody else except for applicant who's being mentioned here. So straightforward, the answer is it is only for the applicant. It is not for her brother, sister, parents. Now the question may arise is that some people say that my wife has filed a maintenance application, and one second now, some people want to join in. Okay, so let us say wife has filed a maintenance application, and then she says that her parents are dependent. Basically, they don't have an income of their own. So what happens in that scenario? Now again, parents are dependent doesn't mean that the maintenance application has any provision to mention the monthly expenses of the parents of the applicant. So the answer is very clear that what you have to do is, in case the expenses, let us say in the affidavit or in any of her maintenance application, she says that uh, I have to pay this much for my mother's medical expenses or for my father's, XYZ this thing. Then you can say that parents' maintenance is not liability of me being the husband of the wife. That's what you have to say. So this is, I think, how you have to argue. It's not a difficult thing to argue because so far, we have not seen that issue at all. Actually, like uh, generally, the issue what many people are afraid is that husband's parents have some property. Wife has mentioned that in the even that is not actually important for the purpose of maintenance. That's a common myth basically. Because see, in normal society, people think that your complete family status and income and assets is something, how much the wife or the husband, I mean, or the opposite party has some kind of claim upon, morally or socially or even legally speaking. But legally, it's not there actually. Morally and socially, yeah, well, you can argue. That's that is important in case you have a panchayat or your family meeting or elderly meeting, and then you say, okay, uh, you have some discussion on negotiation, settlement, divorce, this and that. People have, if something you're doing out of court, the court doesn't is not aware of it. They are not going to come into your house and say, oh, no, I will tell you the legal position. You have to pay only this much, only for the applicant. Well, you want to give it something, I know one person on Twitter, he says that he got divorced from his wife and out of he has not given full details. I think he's hiding some details. But he says that, the house he gave for the wife to stay for temporary. Her parents have come in and they have also joined in. And now they are not vacating the house. Well, that is something you were over generous and a very gentleman and all that. Now you are paying the price basically. So don't be I mean, you can be a gentleman. There is no problem. But, if you are very overly nice in legal court proceedings, the other party is not very nice to you. So that doesn't work in, that way. Okay, I think let me take some
Thank you,
questions
sir.
from the chat
Sir, I have
box.
just one. So, thank you for the answer. So, I just have one next small query. So, regarding voluntary contribution towards child, so you mentioned whatever we have been paying or will be paying in future. So, like I have been paying the health insurance for my daughter. So, uh, does it cover under the definition?
You're paying health insurance for your daughter. Yeah, see, let me read again. Where is that point?
Thank you, sir.
Section. Okay, it was B, I think. Yeah. Whether any voluntary contribution towards maintenance is being done. See, what I would suggest is, this health insurance which you're paying, that's very good. You mention it as part of your affidavit. I think there is some provision down below. And even if it's not there, you can always mention in your, para by para affidavit. There is provision for that also. But maintenance is, I would say, is something which is generally thought of, is something more basic needs of life. Like, your food, your clothing, your shelter, roof over your head. If the child is going to some play school or some, school, educational fees, the tuition fees, the books of this child for education. If the child is having some special need, some tuition or some whatever development needs, medical expenses of the child. So all these I generally are thought of as maintenance. And if there is any doubt, I think we can read the judgment. I'm sure it will be covered in the judgment also, text. So maybe later on we can do that. So I would say that this is something you think of as an extra thing, but I doubt it can help you to reduce the maintenance in a major way. This is a good thing you're doing, but you take it as a secondary thing, not the primary thing. So
Thank you, sir.
I hope you got the point. If you don't do the primary thing, secondary thing will be like, okay, they have some value, but then the question arises like, why you're not doing that? What's your basic duty towards your daughter? That question will be asked in the court. So be prepared for that at least. Okay, let me take some question in the chat box.
Vivek, so I raise hand. So I have one question, Arpit here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so you just mentioned that husband parents' property should not be part of the maintenance legally, right?
It is not actually.
It is not actually. It's only the husband, whatever husband owns in his name, are part of the are considered as a part of the maintenance, right? While calculating the maintenance. Correct? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just want to confirm that. Yes. Thanks.
So we will go through this affidavit completely. I think we have just started. So maybe next Sunday we will continue. And it may take 3 or 4 sessions, it looks like, because there are a lot of questions. So, okay, let me go to the chat box with the chat box questions. There is a good question. Should the applicant, does it include the child also for expense? Okay. General monthly expenses of the applicant, rent, household expenses, medical bills, transportation. So see, okay, let's see. I think there is a section for child also. Let's quickly jump to that. Details of children of the parties, number of children, name and age. We will come to it later on in detail, but let's quickly go through this. Expenditure for the maintenance of dependent children. So since there is a separate section for children and it has very clear-cut, categories of expense for food, clothing, medical, what I was just talking about, a couple of minutes back, educational, extra, all things are there, vocational, educational, extracurricular, special training, whatever. So I think it does not need to be included in this one. This should include section basically A, personal information. It should include only the personal expense of the applicant, because I think if you look at the overall affidavit, also the fact that the section A is personal information, it doesn't say name, age. So if they wanted your child's information, they could have asked in this section itself, right? But they did not. So going by the overall understanding, my interpretation is it's only for the applicant, not for the child. That would be my interpretation. And in RVN affidavit, applicant is this is another question, that applicant is person asking for maintenance, usually wife and not the husband. Okay. This was a confusion for me, and thank you for clarifying. Okay, it's already clarified. Yes, the husband can also ask for maintenance. That is very much possible under Section 24 of Hindu Marriage Act. But don't, go too much on it, because That is only for very special cases. I would say don't do it unless you are like bedridden, you can't because of medical reasons, and you can't make a living or anything, because otherwise the courts won't look at it. That's what we have observed. Suraj, okay, there is a question in section 8.7. Let me go. Yeah, okay. This is the same point. Since the expense of the applicant only asked while the husband files affidavit, do we need to mention our assumption of wife's expense or not applicable? I think if I go by the overall section, no, personal information, your name. So to me, it looks like probably not. But one thing I will tell you, see, if I go down, I think there is a section somewhere. Let me just quickly jump to that. That's the reason this affidavit will take a lot of time. You know, it's not like because there will be so many questions on everything. Huh. Now, if you go to section J, information provided by deponent. Deponent is whoever you are, you know, whether you're husband or wife, with respect to income, assets, and liabilities of the other spouse. So I think this will take care of that issue. Like, you know, what if I know of something which I know is, you know, I know better than, or maybe they have hidden some information. Let us say the wife has done BTech and MBA, but she says she has done only BTech and she has hidden about her MBA. So this section you can, husband can mention that you mentioned that BTech and MBA both. That this is, you know, this will help you. Now whether spouse is earning. So again, you know, the question itself says whether spouse is earning. It's not about you. It's not about personal information. So I think going by this overall thing, also given the fact that the section A says personal information, which is generally known to the person, you know, himself or herself to the best of their knowledge. I'm trying to use too much legal jargon here. So I think overall it looks like this is not something where the husband has to mention about the wife. Like you don't need to mention, you know, this thing. But what you can do is in your um, in your affidavit, uh, you know, we will come to that. I think let's go to the last para, section K, declaration. Any false statements? Okay, verification. Self-employed. Okay, so my thought process is, and I think this is something other people have also been saying. There is a question that where does the deponent husband provide his own list of expenses and his living status? Yeah, that's a good point. That's what I was coming to. See, basically, let me just share the other tab. Same judgment. Let me search. Okay, I think. See, okay, let me search for the word reply. Now, you know, we are at page number, I think, 35 of the judgment. So you can note it down if you want to go through it later on. I think it's covered in one of my videos also, but just note it down. Page number 35, this is the para C. The respondent must submit the reply along with the affidavit of disclosure within a maximum period of 4 weeks. So you have like 4 weeks, you know, the husband. Now read this very carefully. It says submit the reply along with affidavit. So along with the affidavit, which has all these points which we have been discussing, there is another document. So I think that is the document where you can mention anything you want to mention, which the wife has hidden, or you want to state about your own expenses, your own liabilities, your EMI, whatever it might be. which is not there in affidavit, of course, which is something missed out in affidavit, that you have to mention in your reply. Just like the wife has also, in her maintenance application along with affidavit, she might have made some paragraphs of I need maintenance, I am a housewife, I don't have any job, XYZ things. My parents are dependent. So uh, I think all those points, whether they are part of affidavit or not, but especially if they are not part of affidavit, then the husband should make sure that you mention it in your reply document. Now, what do I mean by reply? Reply is basically when the wife files an IA, interim application or interlocutory application, it will have a prayer and then some affidavit, right? And then similarly, you have to file your objections. So that objections is your reply. Para by para, you can mention all these things about your expenses and all these things, right? Let me jump back to the affidavit. Okay, so wherever we were at section, I think we have covered section B. So personal details of the applicant or husband, either way, and details of legal proceedings and maintenance being paid, right? So I think this we have covered. Now we will come to the details of dependent family members. So I think this will take care of not only children, but uh, whoever is dependent. Sometimes, like I know one person, he said that even my brother is dependent on me. He doesn't have income. So you can mention it here easily. It's all, this section contains all of those points. Like whoever, as a husband, you have your parents, they may be dependent on you financially. So that's, or they may have some special medical needs. Actually, even that is there part of the section D. If there is any special medical expenses of your family members or yourself, that is also there. So what we will do is, I think today, unfortunately I cannot continue this till 12:30, even though I mentioned that in the meeting details. So what we will do is we will close the session today, and let me see if there is any pending question. I think that's covered. So there is no pending question. So I'll share the recording within like 1 or 2 hours. So no need to worry. That's a bonus. I was thinking I will not share it today itself. I will hide it for some time, maybe for 1 or 2 months. But since we have not discussed too much, it's like a warm-up session today. Let us get started, and people who were not able to join, let them join in, let them see the recording. And in the next session, we will go into the other sections also in more detail.
Vivek, one question on section B, or is that okay? Can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one quick question here. Like, so in section B, right? So we made notarized agreement where both parties sign with condition that I will pay some money and then she will give me some mutual divorce. After paying some lack of monies, and then they did not fulfill their portion. So where should I mention? It's not a voluntary contribution. It's kind of like an agreement we made, to get the rid of her. So now, I have
Yeah, I
evidence.
mean, that is something, it's not a maintenance, so I don't think it should be mentioned in this thing. But as part of your reply, I'm assuming she has filed a maintenance application along with Rajnesh versus Neha affidavit, right? So that's what we were discussing, no? When you file your reply, that's where you can mention all these points that
Okay.
we agreed for a mutual divorce, and I paid this much money already. Now she has taken the money, but she is not fulfilling the whatever, that's anyway the law allows it. That's why we tell everybody to be very, very careful in mutual consent divorce. Don't pay too much money upfront, or be very. You can even put some penalty clause. People are not aware of it actually. So anyway, I think that's where you can mention it in your reply, in your
Thank you.
objections document, basically.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks to everyone for
Last,
joining in, and we will close the recording
sir,
and
one
the
small
session.
question about the bank statement, sir. Can we take it,
Ah,
or
which Yeah.
Sir,
Go ahead.
in one of your recording, I was hearing that the bank statement um, has to be given not for direct 3 years, but 1 year, 1 year, 1 year, 1 year at the time of
No, actually, see,
marriage
that
date.
is the reason we are having this discussion. So we will come to that in maybe future sessions. See, this is part of the section F, right, of the affidavit.
Okay.
Now, if you go to section F, point number 9, furnish copies of bank statement of all accounts of the last 3 years. Now, last 3 years, by my understanding, is as of date of submission, whenever you submit the affidavit, husband. Same would apply for wife. But I think I have read somewhere in the judgment, that's the reason the confusion is coming. Somewhere it is there that, let me see, in the judgment, bank account. Okay, this is the same. Oh, this is something else. Okay, same thing. Section of the last 3 years. Latest relevant bank statement, that is in for NRIs.
What is the meaning of latest relevant bank statement in this case, sir? I'm an
Latest is
NRI,
very clear.
basically.
Relevant is basically, um, I mean, foreign currency, foreign employer. So my thought process is, see, now you may, just like in India, in US or wherever country you are in, you may have multiple bank accounts. Now your
Right.
salary or income may be coming into one bank account. Let us take salary for simplicity. Now there is salary income. So I think relevant bank account would be that statement, because you may submit some bank statement where you have some $100 and nothing else for the last 5 years. Now,
Correct.
for the court, it doesn't help. No, like it's not a relevant bank statement from the point of view of judging your salary in that foreign
Yeah.
country.
But
But that would
latest
be
means
the.
1 month, 1 year, 3 years.
See, I mean, you want to submit 3 years, you can submit 10 years also. Who will stop you? But at least the last 1 month you have to submit. No?
Okay.
Statement generally, see, that confusion won't arise because there is already a section which says that 3 year bank statement. Now, let us say you say that I'm a foreign citizen and I read this section K, right?
Right.
And yeah, where was it? Section K, it says that latest bank statement. Okay, so I'm NRI. I don't have to worry about anything else. And I'm giving my last month's bank statement. And it's my relevant bank statement from my employer. Salary is also there. I don't think the opposite party or even the court will be, amused, because the whole purpose of the affidavit is that, we are able to get the details to have a good understanding. See, sometimes, don't think about your opponent only. This affidavit is not only to, to benefit your wife or whoever. This is to help the court also. That's the major reason this judgment has come about. That, courts were having difficulty in assessing income or expenses and all these things. So that's the reason they came up with this affidavit format, and they made a perjury provision also to dissuade people from lying, so easily. That's prevalent in Indian courts. So I think that would be my current interpretation, that, for NRI also, 3 years bank statement will be asked for, because if you look at the income of deponent, now this section F doesn't say anything about whether you are an NRI. Some people also mentioned in the group, I'm a government employee. Okay, very good. So does it say anywhere that you are exempt from submitting this affidavit, being a government employee? It doesn't. So this deponent includes anybody, I mean, you're not into agriculture, right? There's a separate format for them. You have to mention your employer designation, monthly income. For government service, there is something little bit different, but that's only in this section, nothing else, right? And then again, furnish copies of bank statement of all accounts for the last 3 years, whether it's your Indian bank account or foreign bank account. my understanding is it covers all of them, because there is no specific provision here that deponent doesn't mean NRI deponent. It includes everybody. The problem what NRIs are facing is that they are thinking that, if I give so many bank statements, then there is some transaction between this and that bank. That is okay. See, you may have some fund transfer from here to there, or to your parents, or to somebody else. That is fine. I mean, nobody can stop you from giving funds to your parents or whoever you want to. You can donate money to some NGO. That's not a crime, right? So I guess um, confusion is not there. The format is very clear. So what we will do is, I think we will stop today, and in future, whatever doubts we have about bank statement, we have not covered that section yet. We will come to it, and next Sunday we will again have this continue the conversation. So I think any pending question, there is one more raised hand. Let's cover it in the next session, and today we will stop it now. So thanks to you all for joining, and see you on next Sunday.
Thanks a lot, Vivek.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Vivek ji.
Thank you. Very helpful. Thanks.